All right, good morning. Welcome to our Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for June 23rd, 2016. Could you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Salgala, can you start us, please? Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this morning we came here at 8 o'clock and went into closed session on two items: public employee discipline dismissal, release pursuant to Government Code 54957, and conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, one case pursuant to Government Code 54958.9 D2, and there was no action taken. Guess I should have done that first. So announcements from the board. Any announcements from the board? I'd like to have one. Today is one of those times where we've all had to live through tragedies in our lives. We have a board member that has done that and continuing to. And so I'd like to remind everybody that our public comment period is for issues regarding board action, the things that have to do with county business, and would like to respectfully ask that we keep it to that today, and also just like to have a moment of silence for Michelle Fonte, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go into public comment. Any item of interest to the public that's within subject matter, jurisdiction of the board, and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the consent agenda. If the public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued at the conclusion of the regular agenda in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard. And so today we'll have 5-minute public comments. Okay. Anybody wish to start?
Mr. Chair, honorable members of the board, good morning. Leslie Davis, County Assessor. I'm here today. I've decided that we're going to set a sort of a new approach to this to let you know that my staff has successfully closed the 2015 assessment roll. I know you want to know the numbers, so before I tell you, I want to really acknowledge the hard work that my staff has done in producing this roll. We continue to have a backlog. As you know, you heard from many departments during budget hearing that we're underfunded and understaffed. Our backlog will probably have us working for the next few months trying to clean it up before we actually start next year's assessment roll. Nonetheless, I think my staff has done an extraordinary job producing this assessment roll, and I also want to acknowledge the help of Mark Kirkendall at IT for his help during the process this past few days of actually closing the roll. It's a multi-day process. We had a fairly rocky start and a number of hiccups, but I'm pleased to say that it looks like by about 10:30 we ought to have the roll reset and everybody should be able to be back in the system. So having said that, I want to tell you that the 2015 assessment roll is over $6 billion. It's $6.1 billion this year. And it is the first time since 2009 that our assessment roll has topped that $6 billion figure. Some of you weren't around when it peaked, but I know Shirley was. It peaked at just over $7 billion, so we are nowhere close to our peak. Property owners who are still in a decline in value status, and that's some 15,499 property owners, will see increases anywhere from 1 to about 15%, depending on where they live. So those notices will be mailed out over the course of the next several weeks, and you may get phone calls, as I'm sure my office will get. And I would just remind you that for those of us who experienced the biggest declines in market value thanks to the economic bust of a few years ago, we're also the ones who are going to see increases in excess of the California Consumer Price Index limitation of 2%. That limitation applies to increases in factored facial values, but not assessed values in decline in value status. So with that, I just wanted to let you know, since I know you'll be adopting the budget today, that we have closed the roll, and we got 5.66%, which is slightly better than the 4% we've been projecting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Peter Reyes from General. Some might fits in with something Leslie was saying. You're going to be closing budget. No comment on it at this time. Seen a budget from another countywide organization, CCWD. And when I talk to some of the other elected officials in the county, I see the other building. I see the environment that you folks working on. Sometimes it strikes me. The whole county, every one of your constituents also contribute to CCWD at the rate of, I just had it confirmed, $2.3 million of property tax. They're giving a few dollars to the county in property tax. But something's wrong here. I'm going to kiss up to you. You and your staff and all my other elected officials deserve better than work in the environment which you are working in. Well, you come and visit once in a while. Take a look at the basement of your legal library. And I think two of you are supposed to be responsible. Take a look at the ladies and guys, so I'm not sexist on this, working in a little hole, windowless offices. And your constituents paying toward Taj Mahal down a couple of miles from here. Take a look at per square footage, how many employees they have. Take a look at the square footage per employee you have in this little section over here. Something's wrong. You have certain policy and ideology, and you have another county agency with certain values and ideologies. Sometimes they click, so your taxpayers, your constituents paying double for the same, supporting that ideology. Sometimes your ideology is not exactly identical, and you both wasted money. I would very strongly and I hope you're going to basically legislate, and there's another entity over there nearby. They do service. You created that monstrosity. Take a look at the possibility of remedying it. You created it. I'm not talking about you as a person, as a body. You can do something about it. You double taxing people to support policies. It's either totally wasted or paying double. You got to take a look at it It's a dirty word, cost and benefit analyst. Something's wrong here. Another little pet peeve I have is these grants. And I know every time we have something, hey, general funds has no affected by whatsoever. Well, most of you are not that far from the point where you had to earn a living. It used to be April, May. After that, you work for yourself. Now it's June and July. People work for themselves. To your constituents, it doesn't make any difference. They take it out of their left pocket, right pocket, or back pocket. You're still looking at your constituents paying for something. You are the biggest employer in the county. California Public Works, no reflection on you as individuals, are the highest compensated organization from Sacramento on down.
30 seconds.
When you hear public utility commissioners, 3 of them, feds busted them, state senator busted them, it's an addiction to make you feel good. But whatever you feel good, that you feel generous, considerate, and thoughtful, you're doing it on someone else's expense, regardless what you call it. Thank you.
Good morning, Al Segala, Taxpayer Association. And I'd like to say that we appreciate the work that Debbie's been doing. We admire your courage and your professionalism. And sometime it'll be better days for you. On a bright side, we've been amazed at in our water situation that CCWD has worked with the state to reduce unreasonable restrictions on water and move the state requirements from 32% reduction down to 16%. We talked to the general manager and to try to find out who is the spark plug behind that, because we do have an Excellence in Public Service Award. And we're so pleased that we discovered that the spark plug, the person that did the most, was Joe Metzger. And so we're nominating him for our Excellence in Public Service Award. And Joe mentioned that it really was a team effort. And so we should also mention that as well. But it's hard to make an award to a team unless we just make an award to the CCWD, and that would probably not be appropriate. We plan to present that award in our August 29th annual barbecue, which would be close to the same location as last year. And another item, we took a position of support for the asphalt plant, the gravel people. And we want to thank the Supervisor Steve Kearney and also a chair for trying to keep an open mind about that and protect the property rights of the property owner. The campaign, we believe the campaign against them is so unfair and filled with so much falsehoods that when there's so much smoke, we think there must be a fire. There must be a fire with all this smoke. And it turns out, in our opinion, that all it is smoke. Asphalt is not a pollutant. Asphalt is inert, and it's even used for lining water reservoirs, and it's even paved hospital parking lots and schools. Do you think that that anybody in their right mind would put some dangerous material down there where the kids and patients could be harmed by it? No way. It just is so ridiculous to come out and say that asphalt is a pollutant or is a harm to anybody. It doesn't mix with water, and so it's much ado about nothing. But because of the public fur, we find that public officials sometimes run and hide. Other ones take the regulatory approach of demanding more from the property owner that would be logical and reasonable to save maybe their face, or maybe they just, out of malice, would want to destroy the business. We think that this process needs to go open, and the full facts have to be out, and we have to encourage our media to publish both sides of this controversy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Newman. I'm from Double Springs. I got a phone call last month from someone I haven't seen in 20 years, and he told me a story that I'd like to share with you. About 35 years ago, 3 young men from Calaveras County got a really good job with a place called Caltrans. And they were really hard workers, and they got along so well together that they became a crew. Their names were Peter, Paul, and Chuck. Peter, Paul, and Chuck did work so well together that they became the pit crew, which was the group of people that went from Caltrans yard to Caltrans yard cleaning out their bitumen tanks. In those days, you didn't wear protective gear. There were no masks or gloves or boots or protective clothing. And these guys worked so good they could get in and out of them tanks better than anyone else. And so they were the crew that they relied upon. About 10 years ago, Peter was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died real quick. I don't know what his last name was. And about 5 years ago, Paul was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died real quick. His last name was Raggio. And last month, Chuck called me to tell me that he's been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and can I please come and visit his wife before the end of the summer? Because he'll be gone by then, and she'll be real lonely. These fellows worked in what they call the inert tar that you make asphalt out of. They wore their boots every day because they couldn't afford a new pair of boots every time they got that tar on their feet. My girlfriend's husband used to lay asphalt, and at the age of 35, he developed tremors, and they've gotten worse. He's almost 65 now. He worked in asphalt. When it's heated up, it puts off fumes. If you can smell those fumes, little particles of bitumen are in the air, and you're inhaling them. They're going into your lungs, they're going into your throat. But, you know, I believe in zero population growth. You know, maybe that's a way of eliminating a few people. I wouldn't want any of my kids living downstream from this place they're going to build over here. I'll tell you that much. And it ain't going to kill anybody right away. It's going to take 25, 30 years to build up enough into your system until we have a nice cancer cluster over there. But, you know, that's okay, too, because in the meantime, we can interrupt reproductive cycles. We can have a lot of miscarriages, stillbirths, deformed fetuses, genetic problems of all kinds that we don't know about today. I'm not against asphalt. I think we should haul all the gravel over to the bitumen pits, wherever they are, because that's already toxic over there, and let them build the asphalt over there. We got trucks, we can haul gravel, but we don't need to be bringing this poison into our community where people say, oh, it's good for jobs. Peter, Paul, and Chuck thought they had a real good job. Job security, good pay, overtime. They worked real hard. They're all going to be dead by Christmas.
Joe Kelly from the unrepresented area of District 1. Today, well, you've already adopted the housing element. Today you're going to adopt your budget. Under Government Code Section 65302, flooding and floodplain management, which is triggered by your housing element in 2010, and now I would say, since nothing's ever been done since then to now, is re-triggered by your 2015 adoption of a housing element, which is on an annual basis. You go through and look at your safety element and conservation element for flooding and floodplain management. That's a government code you're required to do, one of the three that has not been done in this county. So I see a long term of incompetence in this county of someone not bringing the necessary things forward for you folks to have a public hearing on. I think it's high time that it does get brought forward. So, this is, when are you going to comply? Is there sufficient funding in the planning department budget to facilitate this requirement? Maybe that's been the past difficulties to bring it forward, rather than someone not knowing what their job is. A couple of excerpts from Howard Jarvis' mailing of Move Along, There's Nothing to See Here. This is primarily about the high-speed train, but this applies. There are quotes in here. Government transparency, which to normal people means open and honest. Government oversight, the plain meaning of which is watchful and responsible supervision. Californians cannot be blamed if they feel like they are being poorly served by public officials who are in essence telling them, move along, there's nothing to see here. Most employers, and the public is the employer of record in the state of California and in the county of Calaveras, want to look closely at the conduct of employees who appear to be incompetent and possibly dishonest. Now, I also bring another little sub to your view again, which is Government Code Section 54950, the Brown Act. You all know what the Brown Act is. You've all been subjected to it with meetings somewhere, either CSAC or whatever, when you were brought on. But 54950 basically says that. We are your employer. We're not your lackeys that just keep coughing up money to pay your bills. No, we expect something in return. I suggest you folks bring before this board an idea of what kind of percentage of value in work completed we receive for the amount of dollars we spend, and break it down on either an hourly basis or however. But we need to know just exactly what we're spending money on and how it works for us. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dave Vaccarezza with Cal Waste, and I'm here today to tell you about a couple of things that we've done to reach out to the community and find what the needs of our customers and those that aren't our customers as well. We've done a couple of things. One is we did a public opinion survey that we did online through a third party, and then went ahead and had it reviewed and analyzed by a third-party person as well. And then we also conducted 5 focus groups throughout the county to find out really what the perception and what the needs of the county are. But today I want to present to you the public opinion survey. I'm going to ask Mary Beth to maybe pass them out to you. I'm just going to touch on a couple of the highlights in the executive summary. We went out and we asked a number of questions, and not going through all of them, some of the results were that 80% of the respondents indicated that they received solid waste collection services. The vast majority, 87% of the Calaveras respondents, rated the overall quality of residential waste collection services positively. More than three-quarters, 82% of the respondents, felt that their waste collection services provided value for their money. Natural gas was 36% and was of the least value for their money. Of those that received waste collection services, 56% indicated that the services have greatly improved since the transition of SCI to Cal Waste, and 96% praised the California waste drivers rated the California waste drivers as superior. 98% of those customers receiving Cal Waste responded that contact with customer service representatives was superior. And it's not exactly last. When combining feedback for both Cal Waste and non-Cal Waste customers, approximately 60% responded their current waste collection and recycling needs are being met, while 40% indicated they are open to additional options for waste collection and recycling. And just a couple of things here. Conclusions were based on an online survey conducted from November through January by an independent research group, and respondents residing in Angels Camp and area above Murphy's and Arnold and below, but not including San Andreas, Copperopolis, and Valley Springs. So it was the total of the county, but we surveyed the Ebbets Pass area separate from the lower area. And 8 out of 10 lived in single-family homes, and 2 in 10 lived on ranches or farms in the county area. So there's a lot of information in here. Mary Beth, you want to hand those out? And I'm happy to have you study that and use it for your convenience in the future. If you have any questions, I'm always available to respond in maybe a meeting or two to come. We'll bring forward our results of the focus group as well, and I'll have someone here to help me with that as well that conducted the focus groups. So thank you for your time. I'm not here really to ring my bell, but when I get a chance, I'll do it once in a while. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your attention to the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Could I comment on the last presentation? It's almost like a government report.
No, actually, it was just a public comment, so.
I can't comment.
No, sorry. I'm sure you'll find a way to fit it in here in a few minutes.
On that note, good morning. Jennifer Garlitz, 4-H Program Coordinator with the University of California Cooperative Extension. Government note. I'm here to just let you know that we're wrapping up the end of the 4-H year. Even though the poverty rate has risen in Calaveras County this last year and the school enrollment has declined, we started 2 new 4-H clubs that are after-school clubs, and our numbers of 4-H volunteers and members has increased. We're trying to focus more on science, engineering, technology, mathematics. We've got 2 clubs that are very involved with doing robotics and Lego projects, and we've got some rocketry projects coming up, and now a new geology project where those kids are going to learn a lot of great field trips about our county, going to the caverns. I mean, these people already have the whole year planned. It's great. So it's good to see you, Debbie. Anyway, you have any questions for me?
No, I just want to thank you for participating in Kids Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to see the kids are growing. It's amazing how fast they grow.
I know. That was a blast.
Animals there.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right.
And Cal Waste too, they contributed Kids Day as well.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
thank you.
Any other public comments? All right. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. So I'm going to ask the public, do you have any items you'd like to remove?
7, 11, and 12.
Who said 15? Marty? And Bonnie said 5. Okay. Here.
I like that 10 and 12.
12 is done by already. Okay. Any others? Any of the board members wish to remove any items for later discussion? Okay, so
Make a motion
can I
to
have
approve.
a motion on the remainder of the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so I have a motion by Supervisor Pawnee, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to number 5. Bonnie.
I think I have 3 questions. It didn't say in that book right there where Willow Glen Care Center is, and is this short or long-term lodging or assistance, and is it treatment services for a limited period of time? And is that $200,000 each 2 years, as a total of $400,000, or $200,000 for each, $100,000 for each 2 years?
Good morning, Mary Sawicki, Director of Health and Human Services. This is for, it's $200,000 that covers 2 years. It's $100,000 per year. This is for long-term care rehabilitation services. It covers medication management, board and care, specialized mental health services, and including the residential treatment. And the location, I'll have to quickly take a look at the address. I apologize because we have different ones. It's in Yuba City. Yuba City.
Okay, any other public comments on that?
I mean, to question the intentions, but I would more fully appreciate it if we would have some numbers of patients. Is that the amount of money that's going to go to this Yuba City establishment? Do we have patients in there now? How's been a past spent if you allocate certain dollars, and if it's not used? Has it always been used fully? It would be nice to, intentions are great, but let's see what actual numbers, and I'm not seeking names, address, and so on, but I would like to see how many patients do they have each year? Do they need more money? Is the money not used? Where's it going to go? Is it going to go back to who? Going to go back to the feds or the state? You set a certain dollar value. Is that being used, all of it? I'm not questioning the need, and so on. It would be nice to know how much is the cost of administration and goes for patients. And unfortunately, I never see those numbers. Perfectly good reasons to go. And I know it's a grant. But it's still coming out of your constituents' pocket, and I'm sure they support the idea that some people need help and they deserve it. But by God, I don't know if you read it. Well, let's just know that there's some tremendous amount of fraud goes in there. That maintains a lot of administration, not patience. Thank you.
That just triggered another question. We're talking Yuba City, and we're talking about the kind of services I believe my friend requires. And is there nothing closer than Yuba City? Because for us to place somebody, Yuba City is really a lot further than Stockton, and that's hellish drive as it is. So I'm just wondering, what's so special about Willow Glen, because it sounds exactly like what my friend needs.
On the issue of hospitalization or long-term placement, placement in general, as I've said previously, is very difficult to place someone. If you will take a look, there's been a number of articles in a number of papers about the difficulty of placement directly out of a hospital ER. I've talked about it at the last meeting. It continues to be a number one issue. So just because another facility may be closer doesn't mean that it's necessarily available. We must be able to place people in the most appropriate setting that we can find at the time that someone is in need of that particular care. We would love to place people closer, but sometimes that is not realistically available. As to the amount of money and the billings go, these are Medicaid billings, they go directly into the state. And we can't give an exact number for a contract because you never know how long somebody, especially in a long-term care, will be in. You can't predict that. You know, people getting well, it varies from person to person. We can set a dollar amount on the contract, and that's the best we can do.
Okay. Any other public comments? Any board comments?
Well, there is a note in here where if you wanted to know the accounting for the money spent, there's a tool to ask for that, correct? When I've read this through, I found it in there somewhere. I was just going through it real quick.
We follow all contracts. If there is no placements in the facility in that year, there will be no payment on the contract. This allows up to $100,000 a year. So yes, we track those contracts to make sure that the payments are appropriate under the contract and that it doesn't exceed the amount of the contract.
Right. I guess I'm just referring to the question that was asked. So it is possible to find out what we're doing or what we're paying, and there's an accounting procedure. And if you look at that item, it's on page 16, number 9, A and B, and if you wanted to know how much we've spent or exactly where it's at, I suppose we could request that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it is possible. It's not just something. Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
Okay. So, any other board comments?
Make a
Motion approved then?
I move we accept.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, a second by Supervisor Ponte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Moves on 5-4-0-1 absent. Okay, number 7, Joe. Authorize board chair to sign an agreement with Common Ground Senior Services for the provision of CDBG Senior Medical Services Transportation through September 30th, 2016, amount of $178,500.
Joe Kelly. This is a program to provide transportation to Calaveras County residents 60 and older to medical appointments both within and outside the county. Does the outside the county include senior patient care appointments to medical facilities such as Stanford, UC Davis, or any other large medical facility that might be the only ones that are able to handle a certain problem? If not, clarify appointment distances outside the county. This is information that should be put in there. Thank you.
Okay, Kathy?
Kathy Topol, Common Ground Senior Services. Yes, in answer to Mr. Kelly's question, outside of the county, Palo Alto, Livermore, Davis, wherever the treatment is needed, wherever the facility is needed, and the need is great. Just this week alone, we have had 4 vets that need to get out of county to Livermore, Palo Alto, and one is an 85-year-old demented resident that lives in West Point. He has an 83-year-old sister that is his caregiver, and she couldn't drive him to Livermore. We worked and worked and worked to try and find a driver from West Point to take him. We couldn't find one. We had somebody from Angels Camp go to somebody brought him to San Andreas, and we were able to get him to Livermore. But we didn't have anybody to get him back. Our driver drove from 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night, taking this resident or person down to Livermore. Thank you.
Does that answer your questions there, Joe?
Sort of. Now my question would be, who do I contact? I have a neighbor who's 82 years old, and has no way to get to Stanford. He has an appointment at Stanford. UC Davis, the oncologist there, left.
Okay. So contact Common Ground.
Thanks.
All right. Any other comments on number 7?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. So I have a motion by Supervisor Ponte, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it's 4 yes, or ayes and 1 absent. All right. Number 10, Peter. Approve the third and final amendment to professional services agreement between Calaveras County and Tiger Lines LLC for hauling chipped wood and yard waste materials, increasing the agreement by $75,000 or a total not to exceed the amount of $175,650.86 for a term ending in June 30th, 2016.
I know there's inflation, but if you take a look at it, what this whole started out with, I believe back in 13, not to exceed 30,000, and if you take a look at each time, it keeps going up. And now we're talking about $170-some thousand. I'm not going to question if it's needed or not, but there's got to be something to look into it. What is the cost and what is the benefits? I don't know what they do with chipped wood and green stuff once they haul it out of here. But there's got to be a way they do something with it. I believe that you do have a problem, an expense to turn solid waste, to mix it with dirt and so on, let it evaporate and so on, pollute the air with all. But if somebody has a mind in a couple of counties over to do something, this green waste, chips, branches, whatever it is, that we can do something with it over here instead of paying what's going to be in about $170-some thousand, $175,650,000 for hauling chipped woods and green stuff out of the county. We got a few acres of county land that we use it for landfill site. And that's got to be mixed with whatever mulch or another green stuff. Couldn't we do something with it? That's a lot of money. And in a very short time from what was the original agreement, it skyrocketed. It beat inflation. I mean, right now they got you by the short hair. You got to do something with it. But we got some great minds in public works. There's got to be a better way to do it and less expensive, folks. For moving branches and chips to someplace else, where it's going to deteriorate, whatever mixed. And you got more brain power in this county than that. Talk about from $30-some thousand to $175,000. All I'm asking is take a look at it. There's options. There's our people with brains in this county. I'm a city boy. Hey, leaf is a leaf, a branch is a branch, chip is a chip. But I mix my chips, whatever, and with the dirt, and it decomposes and goes back, fertilize the dirt I already have. Somebody must be doing it also, probably better than I can. Please, consider it. You're talking about a lot of bucks.
Okay. Any other public comments on that?
Good morning. Mark Davis, Public Works. This is not escalation because of cost. Really, we have an escalation of rules and regulations requiring people in Arnold area to take their chips, or not their chips, their wood waste, which is generally pine needles and such, down to our landfill sites. Our landfill sites, well, the statement was, is there no benefit there? There really isn't. This is a service. We're providing this for the community. And when CDF gives an order, when the drought causes the trees to drop more needles, we have to respond. So in general, we don't have a trucking fleet, and this allows us to move chips around as necessary. So that's the request.
Okay. Any other public comments on this? Public comments?
It looks as though we've been using this firm for quite a number of years in addition. Is that correct, Mark? We've been using this firm for quite a number of years?
Yes.
3 or 4?
About 3 process behind them is not sole source.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve? Anything?
Well, I'm on the solid waste task force, so I've gotten to know a lot more about these subjects than I ever thought I would know. I can tell you he's not joking when he made the comments about the pine needles. The pine needles have been overwhelming our abilities in our system to handle them, and a lot of the costs, I would assume, are related to that, although he may have a better explanation than I would as far as exactness goes. We are looking for ways and commercial opportunities for handling them. There is no easy solution. I know that Public Works is going to make a solid waste presentation, which I believe has been moved up to July. They may have some light to shed on it. If you paid attention at all, the Red Hill landfill was closed recently for a time because the pine needles were overwhelming it, and we had to move them down to Rock Creek to be able to handle them. But that's not a good long-term solution either, because the pine needles are going to fill up our other landfill. So we do need solutions, Peter, and you're dead on with questions about it. I would say keep watching us, and let's see what we can figure out in the next couple months, because we do have to find solutions. But nobody has a good one at this point, and they're trying to put a stopgap in to get the pine needles where we can deal with them. There have been multitudes of them. At the last solid waste task force, and I'm going to quote from memory because I don't have my notes in front of me, I want to say 1 week, 30%. Maybe you remember the number. 30% of 1 week the landfill became pine needles at Rock Creek. If I'm wrong on the percentage, I'm not wrong on the idea. It was overwhelming. And that's where this problem lies. It is something the county's going to have to take a look at and deal with.
May I ask another question?
Yeah.
I can appreciate the findings. I got stuck driving up there a couple of times. Yes, you're absolutely right, and I'm not just talking about it as a nuisance. It's a fire hazard, definite fire hazard. But what I want to remind you also, someplace a little bit closer, and I live Calaveras Creek. You know how much fire hazard we have with that the manzanilla garbage? Do you realize it? I mean, it's not just getting rid of a, I don't know, what do you want to call it, complimentary name, but that is a definite fire hazard. Now, I just throw it out, maybe it's totally crazy. Talk about renewable energy, folks. Getting rid of solid waste. That manzanilla grows. You spit on the ground and a manzanilla tree going to grow up in a couple of months. That's renewable energy. But all the fire hazard we could take and control, this county could be and should be energy independent. Instead of burning corn to make fuel, spend $1.50 to get $1 worth of gas. Can you imagine how much energy we don't take advantage of it and put hazard to your neighborhood? And I'm not knocking, please don't get me wrong. You're stuck with that deal right now, okay? But sometime, when you got nothing better to do, take advantage of what we have instead of just find a way to waste it.
We're working on it, Peter. I appreciate what you're saying.
I'll take a look at your time card.
Yeah, well, come to solid waste task force meeting.
Thank you.
To use for pine needles. Pine needles are high in acid. They balance alkaline soil. If there was a way to mulch them and haul them down to the bottom of our county where our soil and water is all alkaline, we'd have a more pH balanced system. So if we had our poop factory in place, maybe we could mulch up pine needles and start making a high acid content of soil amendment. Just a thought for pine needles.
Thanks. Any other public comments? Okay. I know that this is a hot subject for our Public Works Director, Jeff Crowitz. And there are several issues around it, including using biosolids for bio-waste for that's taking up airspace in our landfill. And so we have to be really cognizant of that. There's a couple of options that are floating around out there. Public Works is working on it. Like Steve said, the Solid Waste Task Force is working on it. And but until then, we have to go through this exercise to make sure that we're compliant and to make sure that the issues are taken care of. So thank you, Peter, for bringing that up. And we'll and Steve, I know, is on it, and so is our Public Works. So thank you very much. Any other board comments? Okay. I have a motion then.
I move we approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. So a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Ponte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 4, 1 absent. Number 11. Joe, Public Works. Approve a resolution authorizing Calaveras County to submit applications for the used oil payment program to the Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery through fiscal years 2020 and 2021.
Joe Kelly. In this document or in this agenda item states that Calaveras County manages 7 used oil collection locations. Identify the 7 locations. Does the county reimburse the recycling fee to the customer that they pay when they purchase the oil? Those that do their own maintenance? Exactly what is the county's role? What is the county's financial reward from the state's program? What does the $16,000 cover? When I say financial reward from the state's program, do you then, by collecting this oil, unless you're collecting it from everybody, so there has been a fee paid, or are they reimbursing you that fee? The recycling fee seems to be on an annual increase based on the cost of living, I've been realizing. And it seems the thing is more out of control at the state level without a refund recycle site to where we can receive our exact monies back. The last time I spoke on this, I think it was 4 cents a quart. It's way above that now. So you go in and you buy, into some places they have 3-gallon containers, so you're paying for 12 quarts of oil, and you're paying a recycling fee on it. If you buy a 55-gallon drum, you're paying it on that. I'd like to know how to get rid of a 55-gallon drum of oil, used oil. Where can that go for recycling that will refund the recycling fee? Thank you.
Okay. Do we have, Jeff, do you want to comment on this? Or?
Oil recycling?
Yeah. We're not?
I can't comment on much other than to tell you which facilities we have that do recycling. And no, we take it in and we recycle it, but we don't pay the customers that are dropping it off. So if you're interested in knowing those facilities, we've got it at the Red Hill Annex, oil up at Avery, I believe at Wiltseyville, I believe at Copper,
Gamby.
And of course at Rock Creek.
And Gamby.
And Gamby's facility. And I do believe, and we're also taking oil at Valley Springs Recycling as well, which is not a county facility.
So the question, is there, so I know that as public we pay 4 cents a gallon or something like that for recycling. Is there a way for the county to recover that, to be able to help with our end of the costs?
I would doubt it. I'm pretty sure that the state is taking that money and use it for, they're paying the facilities that are recycling, and they're paying for the administration of it. So I don't see how we would be able to recapture those funds from the state. And I apologize for being late. I was out at Rock Creek.
Sorry.
Some just comments about solid waste in Copperopolis. And there's new rules have been established that require a person who wants to dispose of their waste to approach the little shack there and provide their ID showing that they're a local person. And I think that what's happening here is a little bit of bureaucratic overkill. The person that works there knows me, and it knows 90% of the other people that come in there. Making those people, before they dump their trash, to go up to the shed to show their ID every time when it's totally unnecessary is a good example of a need for reform. Either the administration doesn't trust their employee to see the strangers that come in with trash from a different area, or maybe it doesn't care. But one thing for sure, to impose that kind of a regulation on all the people is bureaucratic overkill, and I think that needs to be looked at. Thank you.
First of all, I want to make sure that anybody misunderstand that I'm trying to pick on Jeff or you guys on this issue. That whole cluster mess is Sacramento, folks. It's not our local people. It's not your citizens, not your employees. One silly question, I'd love to have somebody answer me. When they're talking about recycling oil, what are they going to do? Put it back in the dirt? That's where it came from. That's silly, okay? When you say recycling, and I don't know if he has any problem yet, but battery recycled, the 3 or 4 firms that was recycling batteries, they shut them down because of pollution. You know, I wonder how people are going to handle the batteries, recycled batteries. That's toxic. The oil, it's a mess. For what it's worth, I used to separate transmission fluid from engine oil. I had one of my kids, so one of the employees, hand pump, go through a couple of filters. And you know what, folks? Transmission fluid makes a perfect diesel fuel. I used to drive a diesel. I mixed it with the diesel fuel. Saves me a lot of money. The same thing with oil. Oil doesn't wear out. You filter out, the lubricant is still there. So, something to think about. It comes down from Sacramento, not necessarily common sense. It sounds great, we're going to recycle that oil and whatever. But they don't tell you what they consider recycling. What they're going to do with it. You're not going to burn it. You're not going to drink it. You're not going to pour it in the water. So you're going to hide it in some hole. So there's a word for it, but I can't use. Start with B and S in Sacramento, folks.
On the issue of Sacramento, maybe it's this county through Public Works might want to contact whoever's in charge in Sacramento on this thing and find out just what they do with the oil. Because I know Union Oil used to sell 55-gallon drums of recycled oil for the 1540 for diesel. And in the old days in San Diego County, there was a place down there that recycled oil. And their oil was actually better than the first line because the molecules were recracked. But the place had other problems, other issues, and it was shut down. This is something where the state has come out and put a fee on us years and years ago, saying, if you bring it back, you get your money back. Now it's like everything else the state does. It sticks its thumb to its nose, sticks its tongue out, and waves at us, and tells us to kiss them on the... But anyway, you get my drift. I think you need to find out just what the heck they're doing with it. And maybe it might look to, if you folks are collecting your own oils, maybe you might want to contact the oil companies and find out which ones are re-refining the oil, and maybe they would come in and purchase from you, bulk purchase. Because other than that, I don't know what they're doing with it. Maybe they're putting it into asphalt plants, who knows? And I don't want to get on that subject. But I'm saying as an oil, it could be used for other things, other than when it comes out of diesel, it has a lot of other components in it, from metal in the vehicle and from the fuel. So you don't want to use it without it going through a reprocessing system. So anyway, that's just a thought. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? Board comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Ponte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4, 1 absent. All right, so we go on to number 12. Joe, approve action item authorizing chair of the Board of Supervisors to sign amendment to the agreement with Rainey Planning and Management for professional planning environmental consultant services and extend the general plan update timeline to June 25th, 2017 with a remaining balance of $213,966.74.
Joe Kelly, will a $213,966.74 remaining balance be sufficient to pay in total Rainey's continued planning services as needed through the environmental review and plan adoption phase time limit of June 25th, 2017. General plan update timeline. In other words, no additional funds needed. If not, is there anticipated general funds available to cover additional costs? That's it. Thank you.
Just take a look at it when it started. For how much? When was supposed to end? Now, we got two possibilities. Either this guy is useless, milking you, or we've been hiring this people that have not been able to deal with it. Nobody's else's fault, not the board's fault, not your constituents' fault. I would also recommend, take a good look at this Rainey outfit. They're supposed to be the up and up on American Planning Association. I'm not going to go into detail now, save it for later. But what they've been produced, and I'm not here to criticize what's been going on right now. It's not fair to gentlemen here, not fair to all the other planning department heads. But this is like a never-ending story. And I don't care from what direction you're looking at it. It's your constituents' money. I mean, is this going to be going on till the 2017? Is that what you got looking forward to? There's so many unanswered questions out there. I looked at the whole history, and I presume you all did. November 16th, 2011. You keep adding to it and adding to it. You think we're getting our money's worth? Something's wrong someplace. Are they doing the service that basically just goes to the basic requirements for a general plan? My pet peeve, redefine family. My butt. I looked at the background of this Rainey guy. Okay, I looked at all the associations he had. He doesn't qualify to tell me or tell you what is your family. Folks, you're stuck. I don't know how you're going to get out of this thing, okay? That's why you're making the big money. But this is a sham. It's a scam. And we're getting skinned for this. Maybe you can talk to distinguished attorneys. Either you produce or get out. Either you put a program together that your constituents can buy. And look at it that way. It's a nasty word. If your constituents wouldn't vote for it, do you really want that product? Who you try to please here? Go back to the basic that you're stuck with, and that's it, and nothing more. And get the facts that justify it. I don't care if it's water, their public services, and so on. What they're asking is to, hey, do it like in San Francisco. This is not San Francisco. This is a foothill. Total different environment, political, economically, and social values than what we have in Stockton or San Francisco or Sacramento. Get this wrapped up. Get down to the basic. No flowers, no roses, just the business. Can't do it? Get in or get out. Thank you.
Ask the Gallup Taxpayer Association. From what I read, it seems like this item is to approve a time extension for to 2017 for completing the general plan update. The wording is with a remaining balance of $213,000. That would imply that you're not authorizing an additional $213,000, but the existing contract provides for $213,000. Am I correct in reading it that way?
Any other questions from the public or public comments?
Bill McManus, Calaveras project. Back in 2010, we went through this whole general plan thing with Mittner-Harnisch and all of the ugliness surrounding that. When it was all said and done, we ended up with almost nothing. I guess there's some hidden paperwork somewhere, but somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million was spent on that general plan. Last year, getting numbers from the Auditor Controller's Office, I came before this board and outlined the cost excuse me, that has been spent so far, and I think there were 4 different contractors. Rainey was one of them, Augustine. There were some others in there. How this ends up on a consent agenda, planning for the general plan for these huge expenses is totally beyond me. It always seems like it's going to be a controversial number, and it seems to be a hard number to track down. When I went through it last year, before I brought it before the board, you have the amount that is being spent on each contractor, the amount of their contract, and there's this number that's a not-to-exceed number, which I presume they can just tap and keep spending that without having to come back for permission. So this $213,000, I mean, does anyone know what we've spent so far on general plan and what the remaining not-to-exceed amount is on general plan? Because we've got a long ways to go. And so are we just going to keep dribbing and drabbing? And I don't mean drib and drab in the traditional sense. I mean at hundreds of thousands of dollars a crack. Can we get a handle on how much we're going to spend, what our target is by the hoped, prayed-for completion date of 2017? We've got a long ways to go, and I don't know how much money we've got into this. And how can you tell if we're getting value or not? We're just spending money. So, thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, Peter?
So the contract with Rainey & Associates is to complete the environmental impact report for the general plan. They're also on contract to do a portion of the work for the general plan itself, particularly the circulation element. The original contract was for $299,960. They spent a portion of that, whatever subtracted $213,966 from that is how much we spent already on it. This is a not to exceed. So it's was already was previously encumbered in prior budgets, so there's no additional cost for the county. If the work, we find that we need more work, we need to come back to you for a contract amendment. We do not anticipate that. Their scope of work has stayed the same, and they will really begin their work when we conclude the Planning Commission review of the draft general plan and we get a project description. There's one thing that maybe could be clarified a little bit. The recommendation to use, says that extend the general plan update timeline. It's really to extend the contract timeline to complete the general plan update. So if we could make that amendment to the recommendation, then that will probably clarify exactly what's going on. I certainly hope that we will get this done before that date. We're still shooting towards the end of 2016, early 2017, but we typically have these contracts that go for about a 2-year period, so we try to roll that over. I think that hopefully I answered the questions you might have that were raised by the public.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification, because that was my understanding, is that we had a contract for X amount. We've spent a little bit of that, so we want to be able to carry this contract amount forward for the next 2-year timeline that you're describing here.
That's exactly. And I do have additional money in my proposed budget that hopefully you will approve later today in the event that we need it, but I hope we don't need it. But there is some cushion there that's built in case we need it, but I don't plan on spending that if I don't have to.
Peter, you mentioned too, with this contract, they're working on a little bit of the circulation element of the plan. Is that in conjunction with working with Public Works?
Yes, definitely. Work
on
very
the
closely with
circulation?
Public Works on that.
Okay.
All right. So, any other public comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter.
It seems to me, just to dump forward, that all this negotiation information and so on is between staff and Rainey. Can we have one of you guys sit in those things? Okay. And these negotiation information updating, somebody from the board sit in those. Not that I don't trust American Planning Association, but one American Planning Association member negotiating with another American Planning Association. I like to have a representative, elected representative, to be sitting in there listening in. Somebody from the board sit in there and listen. Totally unbiased, just looking out for their doggone constituents, taxpayers. It would be nice.
Okay. Any comments from the board there? I have one. Imagine that. Peter, we actually hired Planning Director Peter Maurer to manage the public work or the planning department. He does a great job, as far as I can see. I've been in several meetings with him. I think he's fair and balanced, and his job is to move this general plan along and try to stay within, the budget that he's been giving. And I think so far he's been meeting every challenge I think that he's faced. We, as a board, really can't get too involved in that, in a lot of those things, because it may come to a board vote, and so therefore we have to wait for the information in all cases. But I got to tell you that I don't know about the rest of the board members, but I think Peter's doing a fantastic job moving it right along. And this is the first time in several years that I think we're actually going to reach that goal. And as long as, it doesn't get interrupted too much. So I think that we're heading in a very good and right direction. And this particular item on the agenda was already there. We're just amending the agreement so that we can continue moving forward with this general plan to get it finished in this particular process of what that is. So, there's different functions as we go along, different monies go into it. This is just one of those times. And so I'm actually looking forward to getting this general plan completed at least before my term would be really great. So, and I think Peter's doing an outstanding job on that, and his staff. They're working hard on it. So, I don't really second guess him too much because he knows way more than I do. And if I do have questions, he usually comes up with a pretty good, quick answer. So, all right. Any other board comments?
I would agree. I mean, I think there's times when it is appropriate to have board members involved, but I know with this particular kinds of agreements, it does go through the department. I know that legal counsel reviews that. We have kind of a set parameters for board, and have the utmost confidence in planning department in pursuing this. This was an existing contract that's been in existence. We have time frames. Sometimes we're not able to meet those time frames for whatever reason, but that pocket of money is still there, and being able to drive it forward to next year's budget is most important as we continue to complete this general plan.
It's a process that county it sometimes goes to my boss over here, Megan, and so when it leaves her office, it's good. So I don't know what else we can do. I can go in there and sit there and badger these folks, but all I'm going to do is take up their time and space. So I rely on them to do what they're hired to do, and that's work for us, the people, and that's what they're doing.
And I have to chime in on that also. I can appreciate the fact that we're representing the people that elected us, but one of the ways we do that by the mere title that we hold is we're supervising them, and just as we might have done through our work life, we don't always have the expertise that some of our people that are working for us have. And we have to put confidence in them and expect that out of them. I don't second guess Peter's decisions either. If it were to go through the process and it comes to the board, then I've got to focus on it, figure out the legal ramifications and vote on it. But as far as being there when he's negotiating these deals, unless it really required a supervisor, it's almost better that we don't stick our nose in it at that point. And we have seen in the past when that hasn't worked, and I'm trying to do everything I can to put my confidence in the experts that we have working for us in the particular fields. Now, if it be an issue, then we come in on the backside.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the, having an actual planner update the general plan, I think is a really good idea. The American Planning Association, they do know, a little bit more about planning than, say, you or I. And so I would rather have those guys preparing our general plan because they're going to produce a better general plan EAR. And so that's a very good thing that we are hiring people that know what they're doing and have the right training, the right experience. You don't want to, if you're fixing your car, you don't want to just go to you might want to go to the guy down the street. He might know how to fix your car. You might be just blowing smoke and have no idea. But if you go to the guy who's had the training and the years of experience in the mechanic shop, you have a better chance of getting your car fixed. So it's the same thing with a plan. A general plan is a very complex document, and we live in a complex world. We need somebody that knows what they're doing. And so I know it's easy to sit here and throw darkness on people who are outside of the county that may have credentials and knowledge beyond ourselves, but sometimes that's just silly. And I'm glad that we're able to hire these guys. We have the money to do it. And that said, I want to make sure that at the end of the day we actually have a good general plan. And so I am going to second guess when it comes to me what's in that plan and what's in that EIR to make sure that it is good. But in the process to get there, I want to make sure we hire the best people, and I think these guys are good. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Fonte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So next. Okay. So we're on 15. Marty, you're up. So make a finding of substantial public benefit and approve the waiver of public works fees in the amount of $679.76 for the Jenny Lynn Veterans Memorial District, and I'm very glad you pulled this.
You are?
Yes.
Good, good. Welcome back. Okay. We talk a lot over the years about transparency, and sometimes we'll call something we're waiving a fee. It's also, and this one comes from Public Works, and this is for time and materials already provided. So in essence, I just think if we're going to do this, which we do this for groups and agencies that we're sensitive to, that provide a public benefit, we do this quite often. And in essence, it affects our budget, which we're all focused on. And so what we're saying also is that we're asking Public Works to do this for free. Each department charges the other departments for their time because they're because they're providing a service. It's the same thing when we provide the service to our public. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this. I'm just, when I went to Public Works, they didn't know about it. And I find that interesting that we would, from time to time do this. And then when Public Works comes before us and says, we're understaffed, we don't have the money, we're struggling, then we go, we don't have the money either. So this is, I just want us to be clear about exactly what we're doing. And as we move forward, when we have more of these, remember, Cliff, you're always saying we need to bring in more revenue. Not so much that we're spending too much, it's just that we need to bring in more revenue. So this is one of the things that we're doing that is eliminating revenue. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that we need to know what we're doing, be transparent about it, say it out loud. We're asking Public Works in this instance to waive and do the work that time and materials that they already did for free. And other departments such as fire departments, sheriff, whatever, whatever other departments are affected, we're always asking them, okay, just work for free. And we have other people all the time saying the county is not in the business of working for free. We should be recapturing the money. I know I'm not saying this well. Our fees should be fee-based on the service provided. So we're always worried about that. So I just want us to say it out loud and be aware that as we move forward in the year, other things will come up and it's going to impact our budget. And you were talking about the expertise of our staff. We need to respect the expertise of our staff in the budget. And Lori Norton set us up on a recovery process to bring us back from the edge of bankruptcy, which we were getting very close to. And so we needed to stay closely aligned with that. So that means we just need to keep that in mind. So as we move forward over the year, other things will come up. We just need to remember that everything impacts our budget. So thank you.
I'm going to make up for all the yapping I did before. Do it, folks. They deserve it. And since I occasionally been dropping onto the Board of Supervisors meeting and CCWD meetings for the past 10 years, folks, I've been hearing how great of a public works director we have, how great of a planning directors we have, till they all of a sudden, they resigned. So, I experience it. Sometimes I feel it's like a kiss of death when you start praising one of the department heads. Past 10 years, I've seen a lot of people come and go. All professional, high class, great people. Thank you. But as far as this for veterans, please.
Joe Kelly with a novel idea. I don't have a homeowner's exemption, so I pay $70 a year additional. Ask the assessor if she can somehow move that $70 over to help pay for that for Public Works. That's my donation. Thank you.
Any public comments? Comments from the board?
Well, I would say that it's, how much money? $670.76. Yes, I think that's it's going to be within our, budget. I would support that. Although I guess we could pay for it, right? We could, instead of waiving the fee, we could just pay the $676.
It's like 51.5 dozen right there.
Right. So we could just pay for it.
Who would you pay?
Not sure, but we could do that, right?
So I brought this one forward because I was sitting in the Jenny Lynn Veterans Memorial District meeting, and they brought up fees around some work that Public Works did for inspections and things like that for permits. And the county should support our local, many of our local nonprofits if we can. There are we do things like this once in a while, especially, like the Red Barn over here. They're doing some work over here, and that's county property. So we try to help with permit fees and things with them as well. But the veterans, I think that we should make a great effort into trying to get them on track with that hall. And if we can help by doing a $679 fee to put that back in their coffers to put towards their project, I think it's the very least we can do. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should really look at spending on those things that really support our community, additional funds. I mean, I think that, these buildings and things are the center of our communities, like the West Point Community Hall, for instance, is a perfect example. It's actually a county-owned building, and if we neglect these places or if we make just the citizens depend on that, I think giving some of the money that we collect from everybody, from all the constituents out there, directly back to our community centers like this is a wonderful idea. And I would, in fact, I would like to see each district have a pot of funds that we could distribute to these projects like this. In many counties, the supervisors are in control of a pot of money to help with smaller projects like this. And we used to do something like that here in Calaveras. And I think it's a really good idea because you can show that you're directly helping the people in your community. So I would strongly support this and really looking at expanding more money in our budget. I have a line item budget for community projects across the board. Is what I would support. But that's just who I am.
Well, maybe when we dig ourselves out of this hole, which we are.
And we're spending $679 and we're not going to be able to dig our hole.
And we got it. I tell you what, it was mentioned earlier that we came from 2-3 years ago an $8 million deficit to this year we should be flush, right?
Well, not exactly flush, but we reduced.
Don't like that word.
No, that word makes me nervous.
That's a defensive remark right there, because she knows we'll be after it. But anyhow, so, and a lot of the credit goes to admin for, supporting us in that direction and helping us to move in that direction. So we appreciate that, Shirley.
Thank you.
And your team. So I want to ask the board for. Okay.
I have a comment. Yeah, I mean, I support this, and I always struggle with it because there's so many other organizations that I know contact me about waiving a fee or the cost of the fee for their not-for-profit status and what they're doing for our community. So, this is just really the tip of the iceberg of many requests that we get in regards to waiving fees or looking at reduced fees and I hope at some point we can seriously take a look at that from the board here and make it a policy of sorts to be able to address these things, because it's really hard to say yes to this and then 3 months from now we get a request from an area, or I look at budget and looking at the West Point Community Hall and needing ADA compliance issue and those things should kind of be a no-brainer for us to be able to support in our local communities, because I believe organizations like this are really the core background or our core unit of our communities. So hopefully we can look at some policy making or development.
Okay, I agree with that. Anybody else? Steve?
No, I just move we accept.
Okay. She did already? Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you. I think it's a great idea to have a discretionary fund for each district. We should put that on our parking lot for later, like you said. So excellent. It makes me feel a little better moving forward. That we used to have that, and there's a reason why we don't have it anymore. It's because we ran out of money. So, but in the future, that would be a nice idea. And Cliff, thank you so much for helping with Kids Day. And 20 years, we've been doing this, and for your support with the elder awareness groups. There's lots of groups out there that need all the community support, so thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion, please?
You already got it.
Motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. All right, so we're going to, do we need a break here for 5 minutes? Or? Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll move on to our regular agenda. Okay, we're going to start our regular agenda. Number 18 is approved transfers between general fund budget units for the Sheriff's Office per Government Code 29125A3 requires majority approval. And Shirley's going to, our admin office is going to explain this one.
Thank you. Every year as we get close to fiscal year end close, the auditor's office looks at where all the departments are, as does the administrative office, and then works with those offices to ensure that there is sufficient appropriations in each of their budget units to close before year end closes out. With the sheriff's budget units, there needed to be some shifts of appropriations between budget units to ensure that payroll could be met for the final pay period and cover the expenses for the remainder of the year. So what you have before you is a request to, under the State Budget Act, the board has to, by majority vote, approve the removal between budget units as long as those approved appropriations overall do not increase. Attached to the board packet was a series of those budget adjustments and requests transferring between budget units. From the time that the board packet was submitted until now, obviously things happen and change. The Sheriff's Office with the budget analyst, Brandon Coney, the auditor controller, and myself met yesterday to ensure that all these budget adjustments were still necessary as submitted. And what you have before you is a packet of 4 budget adjustments. The first one is a transfer from dispatch to patrol, and that has been reduced by $500. The second one is transfers from dispatch to CNU, and that has been eliminated out of the packet. It was determined it was not needed at this time, after all. So it will be just the amended budget transfer from dispatch to patrol, eliminating the one for $5,120 from dispatch to CNU, and then, but all the others remain the same. So this will take board action, and this will allow them to have sufficient appropriations in each of their budget units prior to year-end closeout.
Okay.
Shirley, overall I understand it, but it just seems odd, I guess, that we have the $128,000 going from patrol to the sheriff, or excuse me, jail, or vice versa. That just seems like a high amount for a year-end kind of situation. Is that normal, or?
It's a little higher than expected, or one would expect, but certainly there was sufficient funds there, so it made sense to do it as opposed to drawing on contingencies.
Okay. Is it because patrol was higher expense than jail?
Patrol, because of the savings in the jail due to staffing issues and salary savings, was able to provide some of that appropriations to the patrol budget that had higher than expected gas costs, overtime costs, and when they were moving people around, and so they weren't able to draw down grant money or other money that they had expected. This also caused a lot of the issue for the patrol budget.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any public comments? Any other board comments? I'll make a motion to approve. Okay. I have a motion by Supervisor Wright,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Fonte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4, 1 absent. Number 19, Admin Office, appointment of applicants to serve as various committees, commissions, advisory boards, and county service areas.
Again, what you have before you is one possible appointment to the Assessment Appeals Board. It's one vacancy with the term expiring September 1st, 2017, and the applicant is Elaine St. John.
Any public comments?
Who is with us today, correct?
Joe Kelly, Assessment Appeals Board. Background of the applicant. That might have been provided in the information put on the internet or in your packet that goes in the internet of the application information. So we would know who she is. So, and then the other question would be is, who is she replacing? Thank you.
It's a vacant position. The applications are, in fact, attached to the board packet. The applications and Ms. St. John's license information were attached. She is a licensed real estate appraiser from 1990, and I can't tell what the last number of that is, to 2005, and a licensed realtor from 97 to current. And I believe it was the position's been vacant for quite a while.
Okay. Any other public comments? Board comments?
No, but I'd like to make a motion to approve this applicant.
All right.
I second the motion.
So we have a motion to approve by Supervisor Ponte and second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 4, 1 absent. Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank
You want to get up? Could you please come up and introduce yourself to everybody? That'd be, if you want to. I mean, you don't have to.
Yes, my name is Elaine St. John, and as told, I have been working in real estate. I was a real estate appraiser from 1990, did some little commercial work and various things like that, so I have a big background in that, and I got out of that in 2005. I also had a real estate, and I'm still a realtor, actually, and that started in 1997, so I'm very thrilled to be appointed, and I want to thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you, Brock.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next agenda item is 20, Administrative Office, adopt a resolution approving fiscal year 2015 to 16 recommended budget for County of Calaveras.
Yes, budget hearings were held on June 9th and 10. At the conclusion of those budget hearings, the board gave direction to add a few items to it, funding additional general funding for the county library, first year of a 3-year lease purchase of 2 sheriff's vehicles. There were a few first requests that the sheriff agreed to fund out of AB 443. Those were added to the budget that was presented by the CAO at that time. The contingency is the general fund contingency is $745,334, which is 1.82%. The total budget before you, it has appropriations of $121 million.
Okay. And that changed a little bit with the new tax program.
We will return in September for a final budget with the technical adjustments, and at that time we will adjust for the increase in the property tax roll.
Okay. All right. Any public comments?
Bill McManus, Calaveras Project. I have one question. I know it's probably buried in here somewhere, but when we went through the Sheriff's Department budget during the budget hearings, there was a request made to fund, I believe, through the general fund and not grant positions or any other of the creative ways you can do it. 2 positions for a school resource officer, one in the north, one in the south. And I'm just asking, are those still in the budget and moving forward towards final approval in the fall?
There is one school resource officer that is included in the budget, and that is funded effective with the approval of the budget today.
So the number was reduced from 2 to 1?
The CAO recommended budget that was submitted to the board for approval included approval and funding for 1 school resource officer. The sheriff was requesting a second one. However, that one was not included in the budget.
So that's, you've decided not to do that then?
No, what we decided to do was fund a school resource officer. Yes.
Right. Instead of
through the general fund contribution.
Okay. So there's 1 instead of the 2 that were requested. 1 funded, even though 2 were requested.
Was 1 funded at the CAO as the CAO requested.
Okay. Thank you.
Council Gallant Taxpayer Association. One item of discussion at the time that we were going over the budget was the process. A good deal of our budget is employee cost, and what was discussed is that the method of bringing about the what those costs would be, actually the collective bargaining process. And it was noted that the Board of Supervisors and others that are elected are beneficiaries of this process in that their own, maybe their retirement, their wages and retirement systems are tied to the thing that they're negotiating with the unions. And some jurisdictions are able to get away from the appearance of conflict of interest by having their own retirements or wages set independent of the collective bargaining system. So they are not setting their own benefits. And so there was some discussion on that, and I'm not sure if anything further was done to explore alternatives or not. Appreciate your comments.
Because those items were already set for the current fiscal year, what the CAO and Human Resources committed to doing was bring forward a study session to the Board of Supervisors to discuss what other alternatives they had in setting board and elected officers' salaries and benefits.
Joe Kelly, Mr. McManus brought something up that caught my ear. So how many schools are in this county? And you only have 1 school resource officer. How will the school resource officer's time be spent? Which schools will he go to? All or certain ones? School resource officer is an important factor, at least from where I came from before it was. And not only that, they also had a diversion program in place that had a volunteer that went to the schools to make sure those in the diversion program were doing what they were supposed to be doing according to that which the diversion panel placed upon them. So if you're going to have a school resource officer, you might want to start thinking of a public entity of a diversion program. And it might help if there's big problems or small problems. It might help. Just a thought. And that, other than the school resource officer, would be probably tied up with a diversion program. The sheriff's office would be tied up with a diversion program. But the rest, I believe, could be volunteers. And you probably could pull 1 person out of the county or maybe in the different districts to act as the diversion representative to make sure that young people are doing what they're supposed to be doing in relationship to diversion. Thank you.
The school resource officer, obviously, we would have liked to have funded more. What we thought we could fund at this time was the single one. It will be up to the sheriff's office to deploy that school resource officers in conjunction with input from the school, I would imagine, to determine. There was also included in the budget because of additional state funding for a juvenile probation officer. So that will add a probation officer that will also be spending times in the school in conjunction with the school resource officer.
Is there any ability to put the concept of a diversion program on the table to be discussed for maybe a later date? Because I will tell you, a diversion program person, a volunteer, can be the tightest link to the sheriff, especially if you have one deputy running to all the schools around here. You can make a difference with a volunteer program of diversion people.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by diversion program, Joe.
Diversion is rather than if something happens at school and a youngster gets arrested or any other type of thing where there would be going to court, it's a non-judicial system where the people of the community render a judgment upon them and what they have to do for time, the type of service they have to do for their penalty. It worked. It worked. Yes. I will go into what I had seen in San Luis Obispo County. San Luis Obispo County had a program. They were pulling young people out of colleges to come in as volunteers that were interested in law enforcement type of programs. The problem with it is that they were only there for a short time and then they were gone. So there became a problematic system of keeping it going on a inline position or inline focus. At that point, I had been on a diversion board, and I went from diversion board and played hell because probation didn't want me in there. I wonder why, but I got into the position, and let me tell you, the judges were asking, the sheriff's department people were asking, do you have somebody, can we clone you? Do you have a brother or sister we can bring on? They wanted the assistance. You folks think I'm hardcore on you? I wasn't hardcore on the kids. I spent a day, I would go in on a day and spend time with one that needed guidance the whole day and embarrass him in front of his people by me being there. Well, who are you? Oh, well, I'm his dad for the day. It works, folks. Thank you.
I'd like to make a sarcastic remark. Population, this county, anything between 40, 35, nobody knows right now. $121.5 million. That's the bottom line of your budget. $121.5 million. For a population, let's compromise, 40,000 people. That is crazy. Hey, get the dole, divide everybody, everybody's happy. You can all go on welfare, and we end up making more money. Something wrong with the system. The roads and $121.5 billion, 40,000 people.
Any other public comments? All right. Any board comments?
No. No comments, except I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment. We haven't had a school resource officer in this county for how many years, Jim?
Good morning, Jim Macedo, Sheriff's Office. Approximately 10. It could have been less than that. And I'm going to attempt to answer Mr. Kelly's questions in private, unless there's somebody else that wants to hear about the diversion program.
Are you going to do that now?
No, we can do it.
Okay, sorry. All right, so, we've been climbing out of the hole here for a few years, and we're trying to put best use of what resources that we can do. I think all of us identify that we have, that we'd like to be able to have some intervention in the schools and elementary schools. When the school resource officer was here, it was a really successful program, and Officer DiBasilio was the school resource officer for the whole county. Could he have used another person? Probably, but that doesn't. I'd like to put 3 or 4 if we could. But there's a couple other things that we're approving that can help with that, and then also some of the stuff that the sheriff's office is working on, like their cadet program and things like that that are coming up that could lend some help to that as well. So I think that by us bringing back at least one school resource officer is a step in the right direction, and I think that as time goes on, maybe we'll be able to do more, but right now that's what we can do. We also did a couple other things, like we funded a full-time veterans service officer, so that's something that hasn't been done, and yet this year, as we're moving forward, it's happening as well. So I applaud our CAO and her staff for making all these things happen so that we could do this, and so that we can use our funds efficiently enough to be able to do to put the resources where we need them. And we also, in case nobody recognized it, we also did the budget hearing in a day and a half. Usually it's a 4-day thing and very painful. So got to hand that one to our new CAO for meeting with folks and having it pretty much settled by the time it came to us. And I think it was a little less painful this year than in the past.
Our school resource officer program at the sheriff's office ended in 2007 or 8, and the city Angels Police had one up until about 2 years ago.
Right.
In addition to what you're mentioning too, we added on to code enforcement, which has been something that we've heard before this board many a times, trying to catch up on that backlog. And I know within behavioral health and public health and such, we added additional resources there in those programs. So those are things I think we've heard before this board over this last year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on.
Yeah. And so beyond that, there's certain departments here that help us produce or produce the work of the people, or the requests of the people, which also helps us bring in funding. And as long as those departments are working really good and we keep up with the work, then we have less issues within the community, such as our building official, Jeff White, recognized that his plan checker was starting to get a little bit behind. And when that happens, then you get contractors and people pretty upset about that, and that causes a whole other issue. Instead of being able to run this, these processes through, which also gives us a greater volume of work that can be done. Planning, same thing. So I think our whole county team is engaged, and they're doing everything they can right now to, we've been working very, very short for a long time. I think that they're engaged. They're trying to be efficient, and I got to hand it to them. They've done a great job for the past how many years, probably 7 or 8 or 9 years of decline, taking on more and more work, and now we're just managing the efficiencies that we need to produce the amount of put out the amount of work that we need to put out for the county. So hats off to the county and their crews at this point. When I came into office, I was one of those folks that was a disbeliever of what was going on here. And there's been many changes, not necessarily from me, but from the folks that work here that took it upon themselves to do the right thing for people of the county. And I've watched it change from an angry place and a mistrusted place to, and we're graduating to a place that's more and more trusted by the people and more transparent and heading in my opinion, in the right direction. And I certainly appreciate that. So, and that a lot of that has to do with putting the right people in the right place, in the right positions too. And so, thank the board here for being a part of that as well.
And if I could just say, the budget does not come together by one person, one office. It takes every department and hard work on their staff, their department heads, incredible work by the auditor, controller, and her staff. But it really is a joint effort, and everybody working together to get where we are today in the direction of the policy set by the board. And so I want to thank all of the county staff for working so hard and making this process somewhat easier than we've had in the past few years. So my hats off to all of them.
And I also want to give the sheriff department and kudos too, because they came in with pretty sensible budget themselves, and recognizing where we are, and it was way painless than I've experienced in the past. I got to tell you, when you're sitting up here and you got 8 folks back there with guns, and you're telling them no, you can't have that. That's a scary situation, I got to tell you. But I just really appreciate their efforts and how on board they've become, working with the CAO, and it just seems to be we're starting to gel more and get to where we need to go. So certainly appreciate that. And with that, any other comments from the board? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
We already did.
I made the motion.
So,
I'll second Debbie's motion.
Supervisor Connie made the motion to approve. Supervisor Kearney, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, our budget is approved. Okay. Number 21, adopt a resolution approving fiscal year 2015 and 2016 recommended budget for districts governed by the Board of Supervisors.
And per the Budget Act, these are the special districts under the board's direction, and it's mainly the lighting districts and the CSAs, and the resolution is attached for your review, but this again was reviewed as part of the budget hearings. So there you go.
Okay. Any public comments on this?
There's one little minor issue in here that brought me over here to take learning experience. If you take a look at it, CSC 1, $839,000, $839,063. That's about almost 3 times more than the next one. That is the issue brought me back. I thought I'd get politics back in Discovery Bay and screw it all, it doesn't worth it. You all assume, you were told that you are trustees, directors of CSA 1. I know one gentleman who gets an earful on it. I don't know about the 4 other ones. Please, I request that you all take a look at it, because there's some issues in there that bugged me 10 years ago. It bothers me now, and I hopefully you take a good look at it, because there's some issues that you would much rather take a look at and solve in-house than outside the house. You're looking at, well, this been going nice and down. What was the original intent? What was it called for? What kind of reporting you were supposed to get to make judgment on it? And I'm a patient person. I don't hold grudges. My God, I will get even. And the CSA one is one hot point that bugs the hell out of me. And I know there's a whole bunch of people in the 5th District. They get bothered by it. And I don't want the taxpayer to pay up for stupidity and short-sightedness. The problem I had, one supervisor started it, his ass is green. Another supervisor promised he would do something about it, his ass is green. So, please, all I'm asking, take a look at it, because I do trust you. I think you're reasonable, and I think you're honest and sincere. Some people made mistakes in the prior years. And I'd much rather you see it done in-house. Be a lot simpler and cheaper. Thank you. Hey, by the way, you guys do good work. I mean, it seems like I pick on you all, but I believe you're all honest, but no outside agendas, all 5 of you. I get under your skin. I'm not going to apologize. You're up there. You're like a deposit ATM machine. Okay? When you get off, you're a normal human being. I like you and I trust you. You're up there. It's something else. Thank you.
Peter, I told you I'd remind you. July 7th, CSA 1, 7 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, get that on your calendar.
So just for the public's interest, I know that Supervisor Kearney has been looking into this in depth, and
I don't want to make that a big public issue right now.
and so
You know what, and I-
all I'm saying, well, then you brought it up. You brought it up, Peter. So, I'm relying on him to do that, as the rest of us are, and it's his district.
I'm relying on him too.
Okay, thank you.
And we put a lot of work into understanding it, and we had great help from county staff finding figures. And but we're also talking about 20 years worth of records and sifting through these. And,
All right, so
it is straightening them out is not easy.
thank you. All right, so can I have a motion on this, please?
I move we approve.
Second. All right, so I have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, number 22, adopt a resolution approving fiscal year 2015-16 recommended budget for the Air Pollution Control District. And I have to close the regular board meeting and convene as the Air Pollution Control District. And that's what we're doing right now. So here we are. We're the Air Pollution Control District now. And, gee, I feel a little different. What about you guys? Mr. Moss?
Confused.
Real quick correction, Air Pollution Control Board with the district. Thank you.
All right.
And what you have before you is the Air Pollution Control District's budget for 15-16, totaling $722,588. Again, this was put forth as part of the budget hearings.
Okay. Any public comments on this?
So these monies, other than for Joe Kelly, for these monies, other than for employee salary and all the other things that go along with that, what is the money used for with the Air Pollution Control Board?
Brian Moss, Air Pollution Control Officer. They are used for salaries and employee benefits. That Joe is correct about that. They're also used, we bring in $200,000 a year in Carl Moyer retrofit funds for diesel retrofit, so that moves through the budget as well. The district is allowed to hold 10% of that for administrative costs of $20,000, so $180,000 available to the community. We also have what is called the timber program, which is the program for retrofitting log trucks. And this last year we brought through one grant, which is $60,000 for retrofit of a log truck. So what you're really seeing there is monies that are coming through subvention that we get with a match from ARB, and that's about $36,000, I want to say. We get some PERP, what is called PERP monies, and that's only a couple $1,000s, and then the remainder, and that's as far as revenue. So that's the money streams, and there's no cost to the county general funds.
Just to add to the comment there, the folks in his office also lend a whole lot of help to the people wanting information on the ARB, and especially on the trucking issue. So I'm not against it. I just wanted to have it brought up. Somebody brought the question to me, so I thought I would bring it up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
I'm sorry, I was talking to the auditor. What was the question?
No, there was no question.
Oh, no question. Okay. So what?
He was actually...
It's a compliment.
He was complimenting you and your team.
Thank you. Also, the auditor controller brought up a good point that the monies this year, as the board is aware, because we received a letter from Butte County, were redirected. Some of the Moyer monies were redirected to Butte County this year. So those are monies that don't actually come out of the budget for air pollution, but it does move through the budget. So thank you.
All right. Any other public comments? Any board comments?
As part of the Air Pollution Control Board, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Air Pollution Control Board member Supervisor Ponte, and a second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're going to close the Air Pollution Control Board meeting, and we're going to reconvene as a In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority Board. That's item number 23. Adopt a resolution approving fiscal year 2015-16 recommended budget for the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority.
And again, this was discussed as part of the budget hearings, and the resolution before you is for the 15-16 recommended budget with total appropriations of $504,541.
Any public comments?
Bonnie Newman from Double Springs. Okay. I'm looking at year-end actuals. That's how much the program used last year. Is that, or final budget? Because I'm comparing it to what the department is requesting and what the CAO is requesting. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm going down to wages and salary. There's only 2 employees in this organization. If we're going from $121,000 to $128,000, that's a $7,000 difference. Split between 2 employees, that's $3. That's almost $2 an hour raise. Are these folks actually getting $2 an hour raise in this budget? I'm really curious to know, because unfortunately I wasn't able to attend the budget hearings, and so I don't know if there's anyone been talking about a pay raise for the actual people that do the job in IHSS that haven't had a pay raise in 6 years. If these clowns here in public authority are getting $2 an hour raise, how come nobody's been addressing the real workers having gotten nothing in 6 years? There must be money somewhere. If these guys are getting even $1 an hour raise, that's something that nobody's even asked for the real workers, the home care providers that are doing the actual work in the trenches. So I'm curious, are we talking about a $2 an hour raise or $1 an hour raise for these employees? And is this county-wide? Are all county employees getting a raise in this increment? Because then there must be a hell of a lot of money floating around. I need to know, because we have 276 home care workers that haven't received a pay raise. I don't see the public authority asking for any pay raises in any of their budget for us. So I need to know, are these folks and all county employees getting $1 to $2 an hour raise with this budget this year?
The county entered into contracts with all the employee bargaining units that effective with the first full pay period in January of 2015, which is the third year of the contract, that they received a 4% COLA. So that applied to the two employees in the public authority as well as the remaining county employees. There's also possibly, though I don't believe the employees in the public authority are receiving step increases, but possible longevities, that could also account for that. As far as the in-home care workers, they are also subject to collective bargaining through their bargaining unit.
I want to make myself popular again. These are dirty words. About cost-benefit analysis. What's the ratio between line and staff? How many head honchos do we need for how many workers? There are things that can be done and take a look at. You're going to get people mad at you about it. Okay? Every one of the public works employees, and you are the largest employers in this county. How many chiefs do you need for how many Indians? And I'm not saying racially or anything like that. How many people have to be head of departments? How much you're paying for it? How many employees you get underneath it? Line and staff ratio, it's not a dirty word. How many managers? How many employees you have? Usually people at the bottom of the pay scale gets pushed aside, laid off, given unpaid leaves, and so on. But you're not going to make friends, but something to keep in mind down the road. What it cost? What's the benefit? I mean, there's not many of the places I could apply it. I don't care if it's public works, planning department, and so on. But what it costs you, how much benefit it's going to bring in. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Comments from the board? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. So I have a motion by Supervisor Ponte, a second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. We will now close the in-home support services public authority meeting and move on to and open up our Calaveras County Supervisors meeting again for item number 24. 24 is adopt a resolution approving fiscal year 2015-16 recommended budget for the certain county designated funds.
And what you have before you is the resolution for approving the recommended budget for county designated funds that are used by departments to for programs and that are tied to their operating budgets. And there's quite a few of them listed in the resolution. I won't go through them all, but again, these were discussed as part of the budget hearings.
Okay.
Just have a question. On the fund for the off-warrant system, is that truly $1, or am I reading that wrong?
That's all that was left in that designated fund, so we're trying to
get rid of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any public comments on this? Okay. Bring it back to the board.
I move we approve.
Second. So I have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-1, 1 absent. Okay, number 25. Adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of certain capital assets in fiscal year 2015 to 16 that were presented at the recommended budget.
Again, the only additions to these from what was recommended by the CAO was the 2 sheriff's vehicles that will be on the first year of a 3-year lease purchase. But all other assets were, and including those, were discussed as part of the budget hearings.
Okay. Any any public comments? Board comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Wright.
I'll second the motion.
And a second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So it's 4-1. Pass. Number 26, adopt a resolution authorizing changes to the position control list for fiscal year 2015 to 16, recommended budget effective June 27, 2015.
Again, these are positions that were discussed. There are new reclasses, increases in times, etc. What you have before you is passed out to the supervisors is a corrected resolution. It really doesn't change the positions, it just changes some of the position numbers. And I put the corrected resolution in the board meeting agenda that is for public view. The first one under new positions, the network specialist manager, you had it on the previous resolution as number 0726, it should be 0732. Under reclassifications from the election supervisor, it was listed as 0703. It should have been 10-03. Under reclassifications 2, the Public Works admin, the Public Works analyst 1, 2, the very first one should be 8272 as opposed to 8190. And then the second Public Works analyst, it should read Public Works Roads instead of Public Works Admin.
Okay.
Shirley, can you clarify, maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but we had that position that was kind of a 3-departmental position. Where is that on this list?
It is listed under the district attorney. It's the very second one. It's the 30-23 paralegal criminal.
Okay.
It will be housed in the district attorney's office, or budget, but it will be split between animal services, code compliance, and the district attorney with a 40-40-20.
Okay, so the home department is the DA's office.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any public comments?
I'm just a simple person, and it's, I'm sure you all know the code of this unit, so that's basically the pay rate. Let me inform you, the state does have a website, but it can't identify both the individual and position and so on, give you all the private details that you prefer not to have the public to notice, okay? Yeah, there's a website in Sacramento that you can get to, and it's public. I don't know what you try to, let's not be totally open what these positions pay, But it is available to the public. And if you can't find it, I'll be more than happy to help you out on Facebook or someplace too, so they can look at it and appreciate the hard work and poor compensation some of these folks get. I just want to help you guys out. But don't, this is silly what you guys are pulling over here, okay?
And if the board and the public recalls that in the discussion of all the position changes as part of the budget hearings, the actual cost of the positions were noted. They were put up on the screen. They were in my budget memo. So I thought we were very clear on what the cost of those positions are.
Okay. Any other public comments? Board comments?
Motion to approve?
Okay. Second the motion. Motion by Supervisor Pontius, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4 with 1 absent. Okay, so we're on to number 27, Public Works, review and discuss the state of Public Works, Engineering CIP Group Study Session. Yeah. You guys going to need about, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? 5? Okay. We on?
I don't think so.
All right.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, so we're reconvening now. Okay.
Thank you. Jeff Krovitz, Director of Public Works. As you know, we've been giving you state of divisions of Public Works over the last several weeks, and we will continue for another month or two. Next slide. We've talked about transit, equipment service center, roads and bridges operations, development services, land use and surveyor. Engineering CIP is the subject matter for today. One warning, in discussion with the CAO, I've been asked to move IWM and facilities and administration down so that you have the liberty to give the general plan hearing the attention it deserves. We'll slide downward. Next slide. Engineering CIP, just to start with, the CIP is not the entire Public Works Department CIP, but that CIP that's associated with our transportation projects, excluding transit. So we identify the capital improvement projects we want to execute. We secure funding. There's some lists up there. HBP, the Highway Bridge Program, funds coming through our Calaveras Council of Governments, Active Transportation Program, which is the wrapped up discretionary funds for all entities within the state of California. We also secure and manage agreements with contractors and consultants, all with the identification of improving transportation, public transportation infrastructure. We also give engineering support to other divisions as needed, in-house engineering design for the smaller projects, and participate in development and training of our staff. Our CIP programs fall into a number of categories. The Highway Bridge Program, which is funded through Caltrans, through Federal Highways, which has to do with the rehabilitation and replacement of those structures that are identified as bridges, generally longer than 20 feet. So we have some bridges that look like a bridge and act like a bridge, but don't fit that length definition. Therefore, they are under the local purview. They're not available for Caltrans funding. We currently have 16 bridges actively programmed that we are working on. There are a number that are eligible to be programmed, but we have to essentially chew what we've bitten off. There's also a bridge preventative maintenance program, which is going to be minor repairs, prevention of degradation. We have completed our report, submitted it to Caltrans. There are 15 projects identified for construction, and I am working actively to put together a contract or a series of contracts for the execution of these repairs. In terms of capital projects, we have various funding from CMAQ or RSTP. CMAQ is their quality through the state. RSTP is regional transportation funding. Those are generally administered through the COG.
I have 5 current projects, capital projects in process. This large map of the county with the boxes identified are the current bridge projects in the program. You can see they're spread throughout all supervisor rural districts, and supervisors can ask me at any time about the status of any given bridge, and I'd be glad to provide it for you. I don't want to take the time to go through every single one here. I think that would be a little bit excessive. Next. Additional projects, some of which are HBP. We're about to start the construction portion of the 1226 intersection improvements. PG&E is done with their relocations at the intersection, and the contractor will be mobilizing very quickly. The first bridge in this current HBP program that we hope to come out for construction is the Railroad Flat Bridge. A couple of minor issues with that I'll talk about in a bit. Harbor would follow soon thereafter. We are at the place with the State Route 4 Wagon Trail realignment project where we have approval on a draft environmental document as well as a draft project report. We'll be going to a public hearing sometime this summer. We're also working actively on the State Route 49 Mountain Ranch Road improvement projects right out in front here. Getting that moving. And then a long list of the bridge projects and some other roadway projects. The bridge projects are listed at the top, down toward the bottom. O'Byrne's Ferry Road Bridge Project, that's one that's been around for a long time, a very large bridge project, very expensive project, not part of the toll credits program that the county chose to deobligate last year because we could not identify our local match funding. I'll be talking more about that both today and tomorrow at our funding workshop. The O'Byrne's Ferry Road left turn pocket, there's a left-hand turn pocket we want to establish. It requires some right-of-way purchase and some relocation of some utilities. We're in the process of that as well. Next slide. More of the bridge projects that are listed that are in various stages of progress up to and including approval of environmental documentation. There's a picture of the Railroad Flat Bridge. That one has received environmental approval, and we have finished our PS&E. We ran into a glitch with a requirement to provide cultural resources, monitoring, and treatment. So we are in the process of producing a RFP for those professional services, and once we get through Council's office review of that, we'll bring that and the construction contract forward. We're hoping to get that out to construction this year. There's also another photo of the low water crossing on Stagecoach Road. We are, I believe, through the environmental process on that. So, successes and challenges. The story is going to continue to get a little bit worse as I go through these divisions. Hoping to get the next bridge started in 2015. With the given program on the bridge replacement, it's necessary for the county to advance fund or pay the invoices for construction, and then they are reimbursed by Caltrans, which can take anywhere from 45 to 90 days. If I have one bridge in construction, it's easy to anticipate invoices in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $750,000 a month. Double that for 2 bridges, triple that for 3 bridges. So I must work within my available funds to be able to pay forward to the contractor before receiving the reimbursement through the state. We have hired new staff, and staff is getting rapidly trained. We've assigned a number of bridges to each of our engineering staff in-house, so we have cross-training, and more than 1 or 2 or 3 people can help to manage these projects. We're progressing on these 16 bridges. We've got 5 different consulting firms. Each one appears to have a slightly different scope of work that's not entirely consistent. Decisions that were previously made. Again, you know about 1226 going into construction. We did do design, parts of design in-house, as well as going out to construction design, contract design and construction for the bus shelters. We have another round of those that will be going out next year. We've also completed the Jenny Lynn Safe Routes to School project. Looks very, very good. Challenges, I'm sure that you understand what they are. Ones that are not listed here I want to talk about in a brief second, but right-of-way is always a challenge. Many of these bridges were established as wagon trail. It's either an assumed or prescriptive right. If we need additional right-of-way, or if the alignments change to improve the safety of the crossing, we've got to acquire that as part of the project. A lot of bridges, a lot of design and construction projects, so resource management is always an issue. Getting community approval is a very interesting challenge. Different communities have different concerns, whether it be the folks out at Haver, the folks at Calaveras. They each have a different fear-based or concern-based or desire-based outcome. And it's very difficult for us to move forward unless we have consensus from these active communities. I feel like I've made some real progress in the last 3 months on several of these contentious or potentially contentious bridge replacement projects. New and difficult is that new legislation that goes into effect July of this year affects cultural resources, which requires mandatory monitoring and treatment at sites that have a potential for cultural resources. And so that necessarily means that we will have to have new resources available of local Native Americans that can help us with the monitoring and treatment. So it's yet another layer of work necessary to execute these bridge replacement projects, or actually any public works construction projects. Together with that, we're trying to effectively long-term plan the big projects. A couple of others that are not listed here as challenges. With the Highway Bridge Program, Caltrans, I think, is feeling the pinch of the success of local agencies that are delivering these projects and are now currently worried about their ability to fund all of the projects that have reached construction. As a result, we're starting to get pushback on a number of our projects trying to reduce either the bridge width or the touchdown length of the approach roadways, and these appear to be financial decisions as opposed to engineering decisions. Which also creates some problems and additional layers of approval or discussions and appeals of decisions on our part to get that happening. That has happened on our railroad flat bridge, the one that's closest to construction, where Caltrans thinks that we should shorten up our touchdown roadway length, less than what has been designed and approved up to today. How are we addressing the challenges? Obviously, staff training in project management, developing processes that are the same process for each bridge, and that includes attempting to get consistent contracts for both design and construction, using templates that are essentially pre-reviewed through council's office to shorten the duration. We are consistently doing public outreach for any changes or to gather the mood of the community for these projects, and I think that's critical to the success. We're prioritizing our project delivery to match in our funding. That's why some projects may be ready early but may not go to construction before we are assured that we can essentially meet the payroll and get our reimbursements through Caltrans. Trying to run this program with a lot of transparency, a lot of communication, and then getting Board of Supervisors support for long-range capital project planning. I think the big picture as well as the near-term pictures are both important. Future plans, getting better at what we do, improve our communications with both our funding agencies and our communities. I am hoping to deliver one bridge project this year to the next, and if funding would allow, 3 per year thereafter. We are also trying to enhance our in-house design capacities so that we can get the smaller projects cranked out much quicker. We're actively working on the San Andreas State Route 49 sidewalk project. That's a meeting of a number of funding opportunities, both Rural 20A or Rural 28 undergrounding, widening, CMAQ funds, RTIP funds, all together to get better pedestrian accessibility in and around the area out in front and up to the courthouse, up to the county, to the hospital. We're going to try and complete the O'Byrnes Ferry left-hand turn pocket as quickly as we can, and we're actively working to see if there are other opportunities for our very expensive match on the O'Byrnes Ferry project. Supervisor Edson.
San Andreas SR 49 sidewalk project, does that include the sidewalk in front of the high school?
No, it's only...
49.
No, it includes realignment and improvements at Pope and San Andreas, and it goes across the creek up to State Route 49, okay. And it comes...
So it's just on Mountain Ranch?
Just on Mountain Ranch and Pope Street. Questions, any of those on this slide? Okay, next. Some of our handsome staff who've been working on these projects. Anyone have a favorite or a concern? Okay. Just to let you know and remind you, COG is sponsoring a Funding 101 workshop tomorrow. That'll be most of the day. The news doesn't get much better with the state of funding moving forward. We're going to be doing more with less and less with less, I think is probably a fair way to say it. And so we will have harder decisions coming up in the near future in terms of what we can and can't do with the limited money that we're getting and the reduction in the funding that we've historically been getting. All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, any questions from the public?
Easy question. We do need bridges, but we also need roads. Is there a plan on upgrading our roads? And what is that plan?
Shall I respond? Let Peter go first. He can probably answer both of them at the same time.
Bridges keep being mentioned, and I got a question for you. Bridges are being inspected and certified by the state. What am I wrong about it? Because the state certified the bridges usable and unusable. Can we have a list? Do you guys get a list of which bridge the state determined that it's unsafe, shouldn't be used, and etc.? Okay, because that would be nice to know, you know. Plus the other thing is that as the population has not increased, and I don't mean to pick up on Long Bridge, but it's a grant, that's great, I'm still paying for it. I'm talking to the taxpayers. And when you have a bridge that the Canadian company is going to build it, Lebanese company from Middle East designed it, in the name of a Chinese gentleman designer who passed away a long time ago, replacing drain pipes. The study of I'm not going to use a bad language, bushes over there, for two grant assistants to sit there and watch it, costed more than for the county to replace those drain pipes. And you talk about millions of dollars on an unimproved dirt road, 1.5 miles one direction, 1.3 miles the other direction. As a taxpayer, that's baloney. And I'm putting it very diplomatically. And the whole project was on assumption that somebody had a heart attack 4 years prior to it. But an unimproved dirt road that did not need speed limit because it was so bad, to replace 3 or 4 drain pipes, a class bridge. Sir, I don't think much of the people initiated and so on, okay? But I would like to know how many bridges are unsafe? Thank you.
First, addressing the question about do we have a plan for our roads and the maintenance of our roads and the improvements of our roads, yes, we do. We talked about that in a previous presentation. Again, we share the road maintenance with CSAs who have funding streams. Much of this maintenance is done by county forces, some of which is contracted out according to the CSA. In addition to that, we receive funding through a number of streams for maintenance, which includes clearing and brushing, crack sealing, potholing, overlays, drainage improvements. Yes, we do have a plan, and yes, we are getting reduced funding. We took a very large hit through the HUTA, H-U-T-A, this year of, I think, nearly $600,000, and that will be ongoing. We've lost our vehicle license fee apportionment, and we are dipping deeper into our local transportation funds to help fund our transit system instead of the road work. I've been very impressed with the amount of work our department can get done on our local roads with the budget and the equipment that they have. They work very well. And we also expand our resources significantly through the use of CAL FIRE work, convict work, that not only helps our road safety but also reduces our fire danger. Next comment had to do with a list of the bridges. The bridges that are available for funding within the county are on the National Bridge Inventory, or NBI inventory, and I believe we have 69 or 70 of those within the county. Of those, they are in various states of, I should say, safety or operational level. The safety is known. Is it structurally sound or is it not structurally sound? And functionally, is it functionally obsolete or non-functionally obsolete? Bridges that were built in the 1920s are going to necessarily be wider than current requirements. At the time they were built according to the standards of the time, standards have changed. If anyone is interested, all of the county bridges and their conditions are listed on both on Caltrans websites, or there is another website that links to all of the bridges in the state on the National Bridge Inventory called uglybridges.com, and you can find the bridges there. Last question had to do with drain pipes on a very rural, unpaved road. Why would we spend money on that? Mostly because we not only have to provide the public with safe traveling on our roads, but we also have an environmental responsibility. If we do not have drainage facilities that are sufficient and we're transporting sediment or excessive pH into the surface waters of the United States, the county carries a liability. So while it may appear that we're doing work in the middle of nowhere to the benefit of a very few, it still is to the benefit of all of us.
Any other public comments? Board?
Yes, I have a question. Jeff, thank you for the presentation. As always, I've been enjoying each and every one of them. So first and foremost, can you put a name to those happy faces? We know Mark, but the other three I don't often see. Sitting next to Mark is Tina Sock. She's a junior engineer, and she is managing currently the SR 1226 project. Sitting next to Tina with the handy goatee is Nathan Frumanello. He's an associate level engineer registered. He's currently running the Red Hill slide repair among a number of the bridge projects. And to Nathan's left is a young junior engineer we have by the name of Evan Weston. And Evan does a lot of work on our contracts and our proposals. And thanks for asking. Thank you. The other thing I see is in what was presented on our overall agenda was some of the openings that you have in your engineering area of this department. Do you have a difficult time recruiting engineers to the department overall, or is that? Okay. So finding them and then finding someone that would move to this area. Okay, pretty competitive field.
Salaries are not commensurate with what they can make in the city. The rural nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think Evan commutes from
Elk Grove.
Elk Grove, and I think Nathaniel is commuting from, he's living in Odessa. Yeah, so, and Tina was from Stockton, and she recently moved up to Alice Springs.
Okay. So, at one point over the years, there's been some discussion. We had a lot of contractual arrangements with different engineering firms. May have less related to the type of engineering needed for these projects or, the difficulty recruiting and retaining engineers. Do you see any shift of that changing in the future? Do you see, if we had more engineers in-house, would we still have to contract out for such specialty services, or do you see that as constantly being a balance of needing a little bit of both as we move forward?
I think that a balance of both is the way we should be moving forward. Right now we have a slew of the bridge replacement projects that are being funded externally, but once those go through the pipeline, that funding may not be there. I don't necessarily want to have 5 or 10 more staff that I have no way of paying for. So going out to consultant helps us to balance the workload with the funding that's available.
Okay.
And I guess that's it.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Any other questions? Okay. Any questions? No? All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Great job. Thanks for keeping us updated.
Yes, thank you.
You guys just leave that little projector there. I'll take care of it later. No. Watershed. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to item 28, board member announcements. In compliance with AB 1234, chapter does Government Code Section 532.32.3D. This is time for the board members to report on meetings attended on behalf of the county and carry out their duties as county supervisors. Anybody want to start?
I can start.
Okay.
EMS, Mount Valley EMS Agency met on June 10th, which happened to be a same day as our budget sessions. I was able to excuse myself for a short time to attend a portion of the meeting by phone. It was at that meeting that we voted unanimously to approve the Ebbets Pass and the American Legion ambulance contracts for Calaveras County. So those contracts are going in motion effective July 1. The Child Support Agency board meeting was held yesterday and canceled as we did not have a quorum. We had a supervisor that was from Alpine County who could not attend because of the fire in her county. Tomorrow, as Jeff mentioned, COG is hosting a Funding 101 for future transportation. This has in the past been very well attended. Tomorrow it's at camps from the hours of 9 to 3. Registration is online. I don't know if there's any openings at this point or not, but I have found it very useful to look at where funding is coming from, not only for our local areas, but at the state level and as well as the federal level. There is no COG meeting per our JPA for July, so we will continue our meetings in August. The IHSS board meeting, advisory committee, thank you, we're the board. The advisory committee is meeting Monday, 6/29 at the Sequoia Room at 10 a.m. I was not able to attend the Highway 4 Water Committee, but happy to report that it was a very good meeting, very productive meeting with the continued support of the water agencies along Highway 4, and they were able to get some of the folks from some community groups attending the meeting and offering their input on water needs currently as well as in the future.
And I think the
Cattlemen's Association was represented, yes. And their next meeting, because of holiday schedules, etc., will be on Thursday, July 16th at 6 o'clock at Ironstone Vineyards. That's all I have to report.
Steve?
I have been to a CSA 1 road committee meeting. We did have a quorum, and that started to figure out some of the issues before us and started to address them. I was scheduled to go to a JPA 12 area Agency on Aging meeting, but it also collided with the World Elder Abuse Day, so I chose to stay in the county and go to that and represented the proclamation that we have already done to our who did we give it to?
Commission on Aging? Commission on Aging?
No, we didn't give it to the Commission on Aging. We gave it to our folks that look out for our adult protective service
That's
workers.
it.
That's
Sorry, I was going to help you there, Steve.
Adult protective service workers. So we were able to present that. It was a great lunch and really was excited to be there. I went to a Valley Springs Area Business Association mixer at the Health Habit at the Terrace Shopping Center. It's going to change hands on July 1st, and unfortunately it's to a local resident, so hooray for them, keeping those doors open. And I was really excited to see that it was the mother of one of my former employees, so glad to see it progressing forward. I'm also going to the COG funding meeting tomorrow at Angels Camp. Looking forward to that. As soon as I get out of that, I'm going to come down and go to a neighborhood watch meeting at Rancho Calaveras Property Owners Association. We also have had a solid waste task force meeting since we've last met. There are some serious challenges with the way our county handles its garbage, and we're doing our best to address them. We had a Valley Springs Boosters meeting. I was able to recruit the supervisor from District 1, and I think they put the thumb screws to him to buy a ticket to attend the fireworks, which is this Saturday. The fireworks are planned to go off at New Hogan, and it is free to anybody that comes.
Except me. I had to pay.
Yeah. It is supported truly by local donations. It's a grassroots effort. In the past, I've had a lot of involvement with it, but I'm still glad to be associated with it. And that's it. Thank you.
So I attended a Sierra Nevada Conservancy Board meeting down in North Forks, which is in the southern part of the Sierra Nevada. And first time I've ever been down there, past Oakhurst, and really a neat area. It's very similar to my district. Used to be a big milling logging area. They showcased the mill that they used to have there. They now do recycled and reclaimed wood. So just an amazing assortment of beautiful lumber that is down there, and just really some of the issues they're struggling with to kind of what to do with a rural community that no longer has an industrial base. And so it's always fascinating to see how similar it is throughout the Sierra Nevada in some of the challenges we face. Also attended or basically spoke at the Paloma town meeting, gave them an update on some of the things happening related to Paloma, as well as the county and the district. Paloma is a very small community, but very active and really great. If you ever have a chance to drive on through, check it out. There's not a lot of reason to go there because none of the main roads go through there, but the folks there are really friendly. Let's see, Open Mother Job Training Agency meeting I also attended. There's a lot of good programs they're running there to get folks retrained and back in the job world. And at some point, I would like to have the executive directors put on the agenda to come and give a brief presentation, maybe in August or September, if that would work for you guys, because they represent not only Calaveras but the whole Modelo region, and Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Mariposa. So, and they do a lot of really good programs. It's good to know if you know somebody who's between jobs or struggling. They have good training programs. They're also hiring several positions, including a position here in San Andreas. So if somebody needs a job, they're actually hiring for their outreach coordinator there just down the road, and also in Amador County. And they have a couple other positions too. So there's some changeover there, but opportunity for folks out there in the community who'd like to have a job with a good agency.
Okay. So on June 10th, I attended the Chamber Executive Committee meeting, and 2 years ago the Chamber had a $10,000 deficit. They had a loan out. They're having issues like a lot of groups have issues, and so we've hired a person for the executive director, Stacy Johnston, in this year anyhow. But since then, the loan has been paid off, and the Chamber's doing very well. It's starting to meet countywide, very regular, and balancing that out, highlighting our businesses in the county and giving them that exposure so that we can try to help our businesses here. On the 12th, Historical Society had an awards luncheon. I didn't attend the lunch, but I attended the awards ceremony, and so I went to that on the 12th. Also, Calaveras Has Talent. I provided the sound for, it was at Ptolemy Elementary School, and so I provided the sound system for that, and on the 13th as well, which was Saturday. So I was the sound man, right? I don't know how to do the sound that well, but I did it anyhow. On the 15th, as Steve mentioned, we had the World Elder Abuse Seminar. It was an all-day seminar. It was very good. I want to thank Susan for filming that. And you learn a lot in those seminars. It was very well attended. Could have been attended a little better, but like everything around here, up and down with that. But full of information. So on the 15th, 16th, it was agenda review. That's where I go in and they tell me what we're doing, pretty much. And then I push back when I can. 17th was a community engagement meeting that I had with high school, and also Stacy Johnston, the executive director from the chamber. Mark Campbell was there, and a few of the staff, and also Mike Merrill. And what this is what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a community service curriculum program set up so that high school kids can get involved in their community and have that experience as they go through high school. And when they leave, they'll have a good idea on what is really happening in their communities. And I personally would like to make it a mandatory program, so they have to do it to be able to graduate from high school. There's pushback around that, and I understand that too. But we'll work it out. By the start of school this year, there should be a program that is a little different than what they have now. They have one currently, but I think we can enhance it and make it more suitable for the area. So on 6/18 was at Copper Square. They had a chamber mixer there, highlighting 3 of the businesses there, and they had some ribbon cuttings because there's a couple of new businesses, including a ice cream store and also a clothing store. It was really weird walking into a clothing store that wasn't a thrift store here, but it was it was great. And so Copper Square is beautiful. It's really nice down there, and we sat around, had dinner afterwards, and it was a good showing. The chamber came with probably 25, maybe 30 people. It was real good. Again, on the 19th, we had an agenda review. 6/19, I volunteered for the golf tournament for the chamber. That money goes towards scholarships for high school seniors. That was at Gold Creek. I sat and watched a hole all day to make sure that if there was a hole-in-one, I had to document that. So I got to tell you that there was nobody that got a hole-in-one. As a matter of fact, very few of them even got close to it. But this one guy, who happened to be named Cliff, got within 3 feet of that thing. I couldn't believe it after sitting there all day to see that. That was really great. Same evening, I went to a Rotary function in McCollum Hill, and that was the kickout for Sherry Roosh. She was past president, or she is the past president of Rotary this year, and she took West Calaveras West Calaveras Rotary Club for the first time in their history to an international project in Mexico. So kudos to Sherry for doing that. And so they had, every year they go through to a new president, and the other one gets kicked out, and the other one gets kicked in, basically. And then yesterday I had a meeting with planning and the ValleySprings.com folks to go over some of the general plan issues. And I actually wanted to warn people on some things. It's pretty warm out. It's been warm for quite a while with dry climate, and we got a lot of spiders out. I got bit by a black widow last Thursday on my elbow, and I never experienced that before. And I got to tell you that it has, for me anyhow, it had its own set of stages. The next day I couldn't hardly move my arm, my right arm, and then also came with a whole set of body aches. And then the next day, I was sick to my stomach. Yesterday was my best day. I got to move my arm a little bit. Today, I'm starting to feel, and it messes with your eyes a little bit. Made my eyes watery. Made me irritable, which I hardly ever get. I hardly ever get irritable. So be careful when you're taking your garbage cans out. Because mine was where the handle for the garbage can, you go to pull it and roll it out to the street. In our case, that's where he was, or she. And so just got to be a little extra careful. Watch out for those little critters that can get you, and pay attention, because this was not fun. Sure.
I just have one announcement. As the board knows, we've had a vacancy in the administrative office for a while now, and we have been recruiting over the last few months for an assistant CAO. I'm happy to announce that I was able to extend an offer to Brian Moss, and he accepted, and we're still working on the transition plan to get him over to the administrative office, but I consider the admin office real fortunate to be getting him. He brings great skill sets to our office. He has strengths that he can bring in land use issues as well as environmental health in other areas. So we look forward to having Brian join our admin team.
Okay. Great.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Good luck. You want to say something, Brian?
Just want to thank the administrative office for the opportunity and thank this board. And I'm really looking forward to working in the administrative office. Not that I should have already had an office there from time to time anyway, because I always seem to be there with county council. But anyway, really looking forward to the opportunity. So thank you.
So by the time we get some gray hair, right?
Well, he knows that I'm going to mess with him as long as I'm here. So.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Anything, Karen? All right. So thank you for coming today and participating. And our meeting is over. What? Huh?
Public comment, report out.
Anybody want to comment on what we reported out?
You guys working your behind off. Thank you. What I would like to do is sometime reporting. We have water issues in this county, and I don't know if you keep track of it. From one day to another, water laws changed, modified, and so on. That's one of our biggest assets. And I love volunteering other people to do it. Somebody can keep up with it and let the rest of you, maybe not you, you're probably all up on it, but some of these folks like me keep up to date what's going on from one day to another, from Friday afternoon or Saturday till you find out Monday. There's our wonderful legislator in Sacramento. So it would be nice to keep the rest of us informed, because that is I think there's a tornado out there. East Bay Mud suing the state. They're going to consolidate all the small water districts. There's litigations flying all over. But it would be nice to, the professional can keep us informed that might have influence on what you folks and we do. I think that if we were able to achieve the CCWD when they go to a certain official meeting representing the county. I'm not talking about this political, social BS, but bring us back some actual written report. You're getting paid and stuff. Bring back a report. One of my statewide agencies, I would love to have it. And I ask you again, when you go there, before you go there, I want the board to decide and take a stand on Prop 13 and Prop 218, because we will have an attack on it very soon. And I would like to have the board state it in writing to present it to any county organizations. And I think you can guess which one I'm alluding to. Your stand on Prop 13 and Prop 218. Because they've been doing a lot of talking in Sacramento regarding those two little minor laws. So when you visit them, CSAC, let them know. I don't want to tell you. I want you to tell them how you stand. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Okay. Anybody else? All right. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.